This is Covering the Spread, part of the FanDuel Podcast Network.
We have got a whole lot of basketball and hockey going on tonight in the NBA and NHL. We're here to break things down from a betting perspective over at FanDuel Sportsbook by talking to Tom Vecchio and getting his favorite bets across tonight in both of those sports. This is Covering the Spread right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network and FanDuel Research. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a managing editor of digital media for FanDuel Research, joined here once again by Tom Vecchio. Check him out on Twitter at Tom_Vecchio1. He, of course, is the host of Primetime Tom and the Daily ISO on the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed. Tom, big slate tonight for both the NBA and NHL. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Yeah, really interesting time of the year. Things are changing across the NBA landscape. NHL is moving forward, approaching the All-Star break. We are, in a really good spot for both leagues right now.
Yeah, All-Star break for the NHL coming up next weekend. NBA, we got some head coach movement, which we'll discuss later on today. Trade deadline is a couple of weeks away now, February 8th for that, so not too far down the road. So pretty fun time for both. We're going to dig in and see where Tom sees value for tonight and talk about the Bucs' decision to hire Doc Rivers as well. But first, a reminder to make sure you're subscribed to Covering the Spread wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc., etc. If you like what you hear, leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can also leave us a thumbs up over on the FanDuel YouTube page and check us out over on FanDuel TV Plus. When it comes to the NFL playoffs, you've got to win one game at a time. When you bet the NFL playoffs on FanDuel, one game can mean a lot of wins. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, has all your favorite bets like the money line and spread, and there's all sorts of prop bets like quarterback passing yards or who will score the first touchdown. Plus, every day there is an NFL playoff game, FanDuel is giving all customers a no-sweat same-game parlay. That means when you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday, you'll get bonus bets back if your SGP does not win. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. Minimum 3-leg parlay required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Kentucky, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, Virginia, and Vermont. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777. Where's the ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming and Kansas, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana, visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland, or go to 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia. Now, Tom, let's kick things off here by talking about the Bucs. Yesterday, the news they decided to move on from Adrian Griffin, hiring Doc Rivers take over here, the helm of the Bucs. And a lot of times with coaching changes, it can be a lot of uncertainty because you don't know what the coach will do here. But for Doc Rivers, we know him pretty well. So what do you expect with the Bucs with Doc Rivers now at the helm of this team?
Yeah, really interesting decision considering how good the Bucs have been. I think it's partly due to, Griffin is a first-year head coach, and growing pains is going to happen in any new job for anyone. But they have championship aspirations. So they don't have time to mess around, and their roster's not getting any younger. So when it comes to Doc Rivers, I think what we'll see going forward is that we're going to see a very tight player rotation where he's there for a reason. This team is there to push to the #1 seed. If they can challenge the Celtics, may or may not happen, but there's no time to mess around. It's time to trust the veterans, trust the players that you have. Trust those guys, which means that we're going to see, again, a condensed rotation of players. There's no reason to have 10, 12 players out there, which means what? We can trust them when it comes to props because their minutes will be high. It means they should have consistent output. Variation in, variance in shooting is going to happen time and time again, but high minutes, high usage for Antetokounmpo and Lillard and Chris Middleton and Lopez. We're going to get these guys, which means we can trust their PRA bets. We can trust their point production, whatever it might be. So if we look at Doc Rivers coaching, we can say, okay, We have a tightened player pool or tightened player rotation, what they're going to be doing on a nightly basis. Therefore, we can just trust their stars every single night, regardless of matchup, home, away, high spread, low spread, doesn't matter.
And how big of a deviation is that from what they were doing under Griffin? Was it more uncertain there the first half of the year, or how were you feeling about them in that initial run with him?
Well, in the beginning, Lillard was very variable just because, there's take some time of he was a massive usage player in Portland, and now he has to give up a little bit because they have to get him in this 1-2 game with Antetokounmpo, and then Middleton was on a minutes restriction because of offseason surgery and getting healthy, and then he slowly increased his minutes. So I think we'll just see it gradually progress. And listen, there are times where they blow teams out and Antetokounmpo only plays like 28 minutes. So that's just going to happen just because it will. But over the course of time, I think we'll see a gradual change of 28 minutes, 30, 32, consistently pushing towards a 36-minute floor on a nightly basis.
Okay, so maybe bump up player props for the Stars on the Bucks. And right now at FanDuel Sportsbook, Bucks plus 210 to win the Eastern Conference, Celtics plus 140 there, followed by the Sixers at 5-1. Sounds like you're not in on either price there, right?
Those are so low.
Yeah.
In something that, like, it is such a tough road for all of those teams, 1, 2, 3, and even taking on, like, in Miami getting better. It's like, I don't want to face Miami if I have a prop on or have a future on the team. Like Miami and even the Knicks are going to be a tough out. So the Knicks take a team to 6 games. They have to move on to play Philly or Milwaukee or Cleveland. Cleveland's not going to be a tough out. Like, those are not good spots to go.
Yeah, so we're staying away there, but more so for player props. We'll potentially see some value in the short term with the Bucks and Doc Rivers. Again, assuming he officially accepts the job, which is not 100% locked in as of yet. Let's talk now about the NBA for tonight, Tom. A couple of national TV games there. We got the Suns taking on the Mavericks right now at FanDuel Sportsbook. The Suns are favored by 2.5. Total in the game is 240.5. That's followed by the Thunder and the Spurs. That game right now at FanDuel Sportsbook. Thunder 8-point favorites. Total is 242 there. So let's begin there, Tom. Any bets stand out to you across those two games in the NBA?
Yeah, I have one for each game. Let's start with Phoenix, and let's go to Grayson Allen for the Phoenix Suns, over 2.5 threes, sitting at minus 102. He's hit at least 2 threes in 7 of his last 10 games, at least 3 in 6 of 10. Dallas, they're 16th in the league in terms of threes allowed per game to opponents. Super average. We have a high over-under, a close spread, and Grayson Allen has been quietly really consistent this year. He's having a very effective year from the field when he's shooting, the 50, 40, 90 marks that he's hitting. And I understand he's not the most popular player. He's had this I would say bad history potentially, coming from Duke and all these tripping incidents, whatever it might be. But he is effective and he plays a very solid role. And ultimately what comes down is that he has a lot of space to shoot because the defense is often worried about Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and Bradley Beal and all these players. So he's often left open, and he could just be shooting these threes when he takes 6, 7 per game, and he's hitting them at a very high clip. So when we're looking at a high over-under, and we're seeing a player that's very effective at only 2.5, and he's been super consistent with it, I love this prop tonight.
Now, we've seen a lot of times this year where the Suns haven't had all 3 of their big 3 there, and they're all healthy right now. But have you seen enough from Allen in terms of his usage when they've had all 3 of those guys healthy to still feel good about the over on this number?
Yeah, and he's been there the whole season. So he's been effective when it's been 2 of them, 1 of them, all 3 of them. So and this stretch he's been on, everyone's been healthy for the Suns in this recent stretch that he's been shooting. So, and listen, even if someone's not there, it just should open up more opportunity for him because he has to be there playing minutes. Right. So their rotation would be thinner if one of them would be missing. So I'm on board with him at any time.
Yeah, Grayson Allen over 2.5 threes, minus 102 right now at FanDuel Sportsbook. His past 5 games, he's had 3, 3, 9, and 4 made threes. He's shooting hot. So part of it is that, but definitely still getting looks despite the fact these Suns are healthy right now. Other game, as mentioned, is the Thunder and the Spurs. Again, Thunder, pretty big favorites here, 8-point spread. Total is 242. What you seen in this one, Tom?
That would be Chet Holmgren, the center for the Thunder, over 7.5 rebounds at minus 115. Both teams are on the top 10 in the league in offensive pace. The Spurs are atrocious on defense. And despite having Wembanyama out there, the Spurs, they're allowing 16.1 rebounds per game to opposing centers. That's the 3rd most in the NBA. So while he can be effective at times, we have to look at the overall game environment. And no matter how good he theoretically could be at rebounding, when there's that many possessions back and forth and they're getting in games that end 130 to 120, there's just so much back and forth that the rebounds are going to be there simply because the game environment enables it. Doesn't matter how good he is, like physically at rebounding the ball. So they allow so many rebounds. And I think Chet Holmgren is in a spot where, because Chet Holmgren is also technically a rookie. He didn't play last year.
Yeah.
So this is a rookie versus rookie matchup, which could have some implications for the futures market. So I think Chet Holmgren will push to be like, he wants to take the spotlight away.
Yeah.
So, and he's not like hitting this on an every night basis, but with a 40, whatever over under, I love this spot for a lot of production tonight.
Yeah, Holmgren, 7.5 rebounds, over is -115. Are you team Chet, team Wemby? Do you have a position in this market for the rookie of the year or no?
No, I don't have. I only have one NBA future. It's on Jason Tatum to win MVP, which I have from back at the beginning of the season, which I don't think is going to happen at this point. But I don't know. They're both going to be great. I don't like debating, especially young players, for awards. I think it sets up too much wrong for their career.
It's a really good Por qué no los dos situation.
Yeah.
One of both. I think that makes a lot of sense. So the two NBA bets Tom is on for tonight. Grayson Allen over 2.5 threes, -102. That is in the Suns versus Mavericks game. Chet Holmgren over 7.5 rebounds, -115 for the Thunder, taking on the Spurs. Let's talk about the NHL tonight, Tom. And we actually have a couple of national TV games in the NHL side of things as well, beginning with the Hurricanes Bruins, followed by Blackhawks and Kraken. Blackhawks continually on national TV, which seems like poor planning now that Bedard is banged up. But, it is what it is. What are you seeing across those two games for tonight?
So for Hurricanes Bruins, this is a really interesting matchup, really good matchup. These two teams have met in the playoffs, a handful of times over the past 5-6 years, whatever it is. Both teams are somewhat similar where they can be super solid on defense, especially the Bruins as of late. They lead the league for the fewest goals allowed per 60 minutes in 5v5 situations of the last 2 weeks. The Hurricanes, calling card is they are going to just suffocate you on defense and not allow you to take a ton of shots. And they're also going to pour in a ton of shots. That is their calling card and has been for multiple years. So everyone might be looking at some of the star players in this game. I like Charlie McAvoy, who's the defender on the Bruins. Their best defender, top defensive pairing, top power play unit. His prop is only 1.5 for shots, and it's at -130. So when I'm looking at this game, what could happen? The Hurricanes are, I think, as you would assume, are going to try and take Brad Marchand, Charlie Coyle, and David Pastrnak out of the mix. So McAvoy is going to have the shots from the blue line. They're not going to be high value shots, which we don't care about. We don't care about him scoring. It's just about the Bruins getting anything they can to the net because the Hurricanes are going to be so focused on suppressing everyone else. So it's just like, hey, he has an open lane. Just take the shot. They have to generate some type of offense against this great defense.
So it sounds like this is a mesh situation where you like the way McAvoy sets up for the way you expect the opposing team to play things here.
Right. He's a very solid offensive player, and you can look for him an assist prop on most nights just because he's on the power play, and Pastrnak getting a goal on the power play is almost a given at sometimes. So his offensive potential has always been there. And I think just the defensive matchup will allow him just to take a few extra shots tonight. He has to, they have to find some offense if Pastrnak is going to be able to take his normal 6 shots when his line's at, 4.5, whatever it is.
Pastrnak is even money to score a goal in a game with a total of 5.5, and the over at 5.5 is only -1. Yeah, it's -130. So absurd with the way that breaks down there.
Yeah, 5.5 is not a number you often see in today's NHL. So there are times when I see a 6 where I will play the 6 because you obviously get the push potential,
right?
And there's just too many games. A game that ends 4-2 with an empty net getting that 4th goal. It's like, okay, I'll take the push. So sometimes I play the 6 just based on the overall offensive tendencies of the league right now.
Okay, so McAvoy over 1.5 shots, -130 for Hurricanes versus Bruins. Other game on TNT for tonight, as mentioned, is the Blackhawks and the Kraken. Kraken, understandably, pretty big favorites in this game, -260 on the money line, also a 5.5 total in this one. What are you seeing here?
Jared McCann, the top line center for the Kraken, another over for shots, 2.5, also at -130. This is an extremely easy matchup for the Kraken. They've lost a few games in a row. Fully expect them to bounce back. Kraken are very shorthanded right now. Matty Beniers, Yanni Gord, Vince Dunn, Oliver Bjorkstrand. Some of them are out. Some are listed as day-to-day. Some of them missed a few games. Like, their lineups all over the place. So McCann being on the top line center and on the first power play in a spot where I think they've lost 4 in a row at this point. They have to bounce back against Chicago. Chicago, as I've said before, they're always at the bottom of the league when it comes to total shot attempts allowed in 5v5 situations per 60 minutes. They're always in the bottom 5, bottom 10 of the league the last 2 weeks, the year, whatever it is. So when we put all these things together, shorthanded should open up more shooting, especially if Oliver Bjorkstrand is out and Matty Beniers. And it's just McCann and the Kraken's time to right the ship, no pun intended for the Kraken, but right the ship and beat a far inferior team.
So McCann right now at FanDuel Sportsbook, the shot prop for him, 2.5 over is -130. That's the Blackhawks versus Kraken game. What else are you seeing across the NHL for tonight, Tom? Because it's actually a pretty big slate relative to what we typically get for a Wednesday.
Right. Just want to make one note. If you go to the awards market for the NHL, about a month and a half ago or so, I spoke about Nathan MacKinnon for the Hart Trophy there up at the top. Nate MacKinnon versus the field. I spoke about MacKinnon when he was 10-1 to win the Hart. And now he's plus 120. Now, the Hart Trophy is MVP, and there are a lot of players that are very deserving of it. Last night, Nikita Kucherov, who's one of the favorites right behind there, he had a hat trick last night. So Kucherov is very in the mix. McDavid is like Ohtani. He could just do his thing, and he's going to be one of the finalists just because he is. But I want to say process-wise, I was right on MacKinnon, at least as of now, when I said him at 10-1.
Yeah.
So because, and I'm like trying to play all these scenarios in my head. So because Kucherov had a hat trick last night, it has me going back to MacKinnon tonight for his answer.
Got to punch back.
Right. His answer. So MacKinnon 2+ points at -132 for the Avalanche, going up against the Capitals. Capitals are on the second night of a back-to-back with travel going into altitude at Colorado, which is one of my favorite spots to look. Always on a back-to-back, teams are going into altitude, which is one of the worst things you can have. So MacKinnon 2+ points, playing the narrative, playing all these sorts of things, with Kucherov having a massive game last night.
So as you mentioned, that's in the Capitals versus Avalanche game. MacKinnon to have 2+ points is -132 at FanDuel Sportsbook. We haven't talked a lot about this market, so if people are not as familiar with this one, is that pretty atypical to see a number that short, or is it just that MacKinnon is so good, he's had such a great year, and the team is that good where you can justify laying -132 to get multiple points in a game?
Oh, absolutely. For MacKinnon, for Kucherov, if I would personally, I would play Kucherov, MacKinnon, McDavid, Pastrnak, Panarin, some of these players, I'd play them to -150. Yeah. As long as the matchup enables it. Right. Not Pastrnak going up against Carolina tonight. Right. But when they play Montreal, when they play Ottawa, when they play Buffalo, sign me up. Sign me up for all these players. And MacKinnon putting in he's going over these stretches where he has 10 games where he has 19 points over 10 games.
Okay, so Nathan MacKinnon fights back tonight. To get 2+ points is -132. That's along with Jared McCann. Over 2.5 shots, -130 for the Kraken versus Blackhawks. And then Charlie McAvoy over 1.5 shots, -130 as the Bruins take on the Hurricanes. That's all we got here for today on Covering the Spread. We'll be back with you once again tomorrow talking about the NFL Conference Championship matchups with Dr. Ed Feng. Make sure you're subscribed to Covering the Spread wherever you get your podcast to get that as it goes live. But Tom, appreciate you as always. Good luck and enjoy all the basketball and hockey for tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Find Tom on Twitter at Tom_Vecchio1. I am on Twitter at Jim Sonis. You can find me on Threads at Jim.Sonis and follow FanDuel Research on Twitter at FanDuel Research. Want to thank you all for tuning in for today. Good luck to you with your bets across Wednesday. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow to break down the conference championships. This has been Covering the Spread right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network.